Well, let's pick up where we left off. Gary presented us with a couple of questions, our goals and transitions, the little steps that are taking place there. So, Julie and Tara, you are right in the middle of this transition period. So what are some of those little steps that start here?
I think of during this time, I don't want to lose any ground. I want to manage the assets that I have worked so hard to achieve.
You know, when you think about it, honey, these parents have put in an enormous amount of time, a great investment. It's what Julie's talking about is the assets, such as the asset of sleep, the asset of good mealtime behavior and conduct. Then there's the wake time activity. So the question comes in, what does it mean to manage the assets and avoid the liabilities?
So Tara, what does that mean?
One thing that I remember that was so helpful when Greg and I led the class with the Ezzos was just to not lose any ground during this time period. And by not losing ground, you're actually gaining ground during this time.
Yeah, I think, Tara, that speaks to this whole transition period, that we're not in the toddler years, we're not in the babyhood years, but we're in a phase in which, as you're saying, Julie, we have assets, right, honey? I mean, they have invested a year in certain behaviors. Sleep, for example.
Yeah, sleep. So Tara, how would a parent actually be losing assets in their baby's life at this time?
When you have a child who has been beautifully sleeping through the night for a year and then all of a sudden starts to wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then the parent thinks, oh, I've got to get up, I've got to feed them, and then all of a sudden you're losing all that you have gained in that area of sleep.
So that actually becomes a liability, not because of that particular moment, but if that habit continues as you move into the toddler years, that's just another liability you're going to have to pick up and manage. And what about, for example, wake time, things like that?
Right. Sometimes what happens is the playpen.
The playpen, they could be loving their playpen, playing in it, twice a day for 30 to 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden they just don't like it anymore. And instead of giving it up, don't give it up, stick with it, and persevere through that time. They will come back to liking it.
Yeah.
And I think the third area is food. I mean, they've been eating foods and enjoying it, and then what happens?
They all of a sudden decide that their favorites are not their favorites anymore.
Right.
Or the things that they preferred, they no longer prefer.
Which speaks to the fact that this is a transition. These minor transitions, there will be adjustments, right?
Right. And same with food. What would food look like now?
Well, I can think that they're being introduced to so many new foods, so many new textures. Like we said, they're not eating the pureed foods anymore, and so they're going to start having some preferences. And if we give in to those preferences all the time, we're going to be creating these picky eaters.
Right. And at the same time, we want to recognize the uniqueness of the child. I mean, there will be preferences, but you have to find that balance. Again, it's all part of that transition. I just want to go back on to what Tara said regarding the class. I remembered the moment when we were all introducing that concept of the only thing you need to do is just sort of get through this transition, try not to lose any ground. There was almost that sense of, oh, that is so helpful. And I think that's what we want our parents who are joining us right now to understand. This is your goal. This is primarily manage your assets, try not to increase any liabilities by what we do.
Yes, so that it really, as you've so well said, our whole purpose, maintain those assets that you've already started.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to see more, and check out the growingfamilies.life website to find more resources and to get connected.